And they looked around and they found it was his wife. But all of a sudden, again their samadhi was broken. The reality of this world is inside out. He said, don't mind, just tolerate. Today we are embarking on an interesting topic of mastering self-management. And when Socrates was in his deep meditation and radiating his depths of insights and knowledge, so many of his students and fans were glued to what he was speaking. It was as if Socrates was throwing out gems and pearls of knowledge. Such valuable pearls which can change the very direction of one's life. The students being very attentive, excited and keen on one side, and Socrates being completely absorbed on the other side, formed a perfect resonating circuitry. By the way, Socrates was at his home, and time was just passing by. Hours and hours and hours went by as Socrates was at the peak of his intellectual ecstasies. All of a sudden, there was a very unpalatable kind of noisy sound which interrupted this entire synchronized resonating circuitry. So there was a very loud noise, which as if somebody was shouting at the top of the top of their lungs. So everyone was in samadhi, and their samadhi broke, and the students were wondering, who's shouting, who's interrupting, who can dare interrupt the speech of Socrates. And they looked around and they found it was his wife, and she was so frustrated, and she was shouting like anything, and she was yelling at the top of her lungs, and it was as if that she had been tolerating for so long, hours and hours and hours, and now there was the volcanic outburst. So they wanted to very intently observe how their teacher reacts to that. Socrates looked around, he looked at the audience, he looked at his students, he looked at his wife, he acknowledged and nodded as if he received, he received whatever she had to offer. He has gratefully received it. So, and then he looked at the students and he smiled. And he said, don't worry, friends, let's go out and continue our discussion in the garden. So everybody went to the garden. And when they went to the garden, Socrates became even more absorbed and even more enthusiastic in his insights. And it was as if his insights, his meditation has gone a step up in depths, in substance. It was even more condensed now. And very soon everyone came into samadhi again. They were into samadhi, big samadhi, deep samadhi. But all of a sudden, again their samadhi was broken. Now this time, it was as if a whole cloud had bursted and drenched Socrates completely. So everybody was looking, is there a big shower of rain? What happened? But everybody was dry. Only Socrates was completely drenched, as if someone has done his abhishek. Again, students, they got up. They were trembling and they were wondering, what is the disturbance now? And while they were looking out here and there, somebody looked up, and there was the wife of Socrates on the terrace. And she was hailing. She was hailing a bucket, the empty bucket. So what she had done is that in a fit of anger, she had gone up, and she threw a whole bucket of water over Socrates, and he was and thus doing the complete abhishek. How is Socrates going to react? That was the prime focus. Anyway, Socrates was as calm as ever, as unaffected as ever. And he looked at his wife and he acknowledged what she did. And he looked at the students. And then he started addressing them. And he said, don't worry, friends. Previously, it was thundering. Now, it just rained. And philosophers and intellectuals define that the greatness of a person can be estimated by his ability to tolerate provoking situations. So we see with this modern day world, which is full of glamour and razzle and dazzle, one keeps hopping from one platform to another. One keeps changing various settings. So fashions keep changing. People change their clothing tastes. People change their people keep changing their jobs, and quite prominently in the Western culture, but to some extent even in our Indian culture, people keep changing even their partners. So people keep changing all externals because one kind of configuration, one kind of setting, and then one realizes it's not working out. And then one wants to change it, hoping that okay, if I hop from here to there and there to everywhere, and that means nowhere, so a miracle can happen. That's the point. And in this way, one just keeps hopping and hopping and hopping without stopping. The reality of this world is not outside in. The reality of this world is inside out. By changing the outside and the externals, one cannot change the experience of one's heart. But when one works on the self, when one molds one's own self as per the directions, as per the directions of the great saintly personalities, the acharyas, the great philosophers who've tested, experimented, some of the most successful people, the icons of the world, the history has shown. So if one molds himself or herself according to these prescriptions and directions, then yes, that internal conquest leads to external victory. So many times people feel if I get a good college admission in a good college and university, then I can be very successful, assured of success. But this definition only remains till you get admission. We have seen. So we have seen. So in Jadavpur or in Kharagpur, till you get admission, people feel until they get admission, people feel that okay, if I get a seat, then success is assured. But then when they come in, they can we get to understand that there are no jobs. I mean, there is a fierce competition in jobs. Core department don't have jobs, and competing in software jobs on algorithms or on data analytics or machine learning is going to be a very fierce game, because everyone is not dying to get it. So it's going to be highly competitive. So you see, situations change and keep changing in this fashion, and therefore if one does not have depth of heart, depth of character, depth of values and principles, then one doesn't have a deep footing. This flux can overthrow a person. All this brings out to one very important dimension, which if neglected can convert a fortune into a misfortune. But if mastered over, can create fortune on a barren land as well, on a barren ground as well. And that is the art of self-management. I remember in the year 2001 when I was in first year, and there was this orientation program at the beginning of our first year course starting at KGP. So I remember the Dean of Student Affairs, he was addressing. So he was making a point, mark the point, quite interesting. He said, you see, all of you had been toppers in your school, in your cities, in your small towns, villages, or wherever you're coming from. Please try to understand one thing, that when you have come here everybody is a topper. So he said, okay, you work hard, all the best for you, we wish you a flourishing career. But then he said, he said that you see, because all of you are toppers, then you may aim to land up with a 10-point CGPA or a 9.7 CGPA in Toto with a rocking, in a rocking style. But in case you land up with a 7 or you land up with a 6.8, he said, don't mind, just tolerate. Everybody is a topper here. So he said, just tolerate. So go on, see where you land, and then see how, step by step, try to work out means to improve. Where you are, stabilize that and then try to improve on that, like that. Take it up with a positive spirit. That was his message. And he ended his message. The ending phrase was, he said, at least come what may, whatever be the case, at least do not commit suicide. And that was his plea. At least do not commit suicide.